Hello. Well, it looks like it's going to be the end of this sailboat after all. The deadline that I had put on it has already passed, and now parts are available, so I'm going to start dismantling it. So this is the beginning of the end for this 1977 C&C 24-foot sailboat. It's going to be completely stripped of all of its sellable parts, and the lead and the keel and all that's going to scrap metal. And then we're going to cut the hull up with a chainsaw and haul it to the landfill, and that'll be the end of it. So it will never sail again. Okay, as you can see, this boat ladder, this boarding ladder here is removable. It just locks into these little mounting tabs. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the ladder off of here and get these mounting tabs removed. And now the little brackets are removed and ready to go find their new home. Now let's get to that bimini top. Alright, we went ahead and installed the bimini top on the boat so we can clean it up a little and get some pictures of it. Hopefully we'll be able to sell it for something. We'll go ahead and take it back off the boat real quick. Now that the bimini top and swim ladder are removed, I'm going to get to removing this railing here. I know I got to remove all the cables and stuff, but the railing appears to be in good shape. None of these little fittings and stuff are cracked, so that's a good thing. And I believe it's all stainless. So we can go ahead and remove all of that, as well as these posts here that hold the cables up. I'm not sure of the names of all this stuff. I'm just basically calling it what it looks like. So here's this railing in the front. And everything looks like it's going to come off pretty easy. So maybe someone else can use this stuff on their boat. It appears to be pretty universal. They can always run new cables to make up for the difference in the length or whatever. So let's go ahead and remove all these cables first, and then we'll get these rails off. I removed the cables already. I'm going to go ahead and see if these screws here will come out pretty easy. I don't know if they have nuts on the back side or if they're just screwed into the wood that's inside the fiberglass. Let's hope they're just screwed into the wood and fiberglass, and I don't have to go crawling up inside the hull. Well, it turned out they do have nuts on the back side, so I'm not going to remove the mounting brackets for the railings just yet. There's no need in me climbing down inside of a hull. If I'm going to cut the hull up, I'm just going to cut accesses into it. As it turns out, the entire tow rail all the way down the length of the boat on both sides, which is definitely over 100 screws. Well, it turns out they're bolts. It's Phillips head screw on one end and a nut on the other end. So I'm not going through all the trouble of trying to figure out how to get to each little cubby hole. I'm just gonna take the chainsaw out and cut my own access, or maybe just cut the whole top section of the boat, knock it over onto the ground, and then I can get to the back side of it. But I'm going to go ahead and pull out the front railing out of its little mounting brackets, and I think that one, now that I know how they come off, it should be pretty easy. The bow railing is removed. Not sure of the real name of it, like I said, but anyway, it's sitting down there with the posts that hold the cables up. I did leave one of those cable posts up right by my ladder, so I have something to grab onto. Now I'm working on pulling the windows out. I already removed the windows off the right side. I just got to pull the other windows out. Then I'm going to remove that whole sliding hatch assembly and start ripping the interior out of here. Well, it definitely looks horrible now without the windows in it, but I had to remove those windows first before I go back on the inside. It's just no ventilation in there, even with the front hatch open. So now with those windows out, it's got a real nice breeze coming through. It just kind of looks naked without all the railings. But here's a small accumulation of the parts. I mean, there's still some parts sitting up on top and on the other side. But maybe all these parts will find a home on another boat. I'm sure nobody will want the windows, but you never know. Somebody comes here and buys something else, I'll ask them if they want them, they can have them. Or if nobody wants them, maybe list them for $5 for all 4. The frames are good. The plexiglass is fine. It's just, it needs to be sealed up and installed properly. I'm going to go ahead and remove this folding table. I mean, it just attaches to that mast support there, and you pull a pin, and then the whole thing folds completely down flat against that support. I mean, it needs some new screws, thanks to the people that were looking at the boat dropping the sails on top of it. But other than that, it's fine. I mean, I'm not sure. I think these little end pieces here are teak. I'm not sure exactly though. I mean, supposedly a lot of this wood in here is supposed to be teak. I don't really know anything about woodwork, especially on boats. So, I mean, if this is teak, great. If it's just plywood that's stained to look like teak, then oh well. I'm just going to take it all out and set it aside once I identify it. Then I can make up my mind whether to burn it or resell it. So, I mean, people can make little panels out of these. So, maybe it'll be good for something. Who knows, maybe it'll be good for something on the dash in the Starcraft. That would be nice. But let's go ahead and get this table out of here. Before I go back inside, I've decided I'm going to go ahead and try to remove this sliding hatch here. And maybe there's another name for it, but I'm just going to call it a sliding hatch. I mean, it works fine and everything. But I really don't care if the inside gets wet after today, because there's not going to be anything left in it. So let's go ahead and remove this. The hatch is removed. I still have to take the tracks off, but the only thing holding them on right now is just sealant. I didn't realize that the fiberglass top, you know, I thought maybe it had some rollers or something like that that slid in the track, but actually it was just a piece of wood that has a groove in it that's mounted on the track like this. And then what holds these two pieces together on each side is just screws to the fiberglass. So it's really not much to it. But anyway, the tracks I'll probably sell. The hatch, you know, the more I look at it, it actually looks like it'd be a good little hardtop for a commercial lawnmower. Who knows? That's just a thought though, because it's not that heavy. But let's go ahead and get these tracks off. Alright, I don't know if you remember that piece of wood that was behind where the compass and everything mounts, but I just removed it. It had a lot of nice stainless steel screws in it. But I was trying to figure out, you know, how to break this sealant loose on these tracks, and my ADD kicked in. I started working on the inside, so I got the screws out that hold this piece of teak up here, but I still can't get it loose, and I'll have to get out and get something to pry all that off with, because that sealant is definitely holding it on there. So let's go ahead and just start pulling interior pieces out, get this stripped down as quick as we can. Okay, I already threw the cushion for this little porta-john area out of the boat. I mean, it just sat on top, had this little teak framework and stuff that keeps it in place. But under here, of course, there's a couple hinges back there, this little latch, and a piece of aluminum channel holding this in place. And under here's the porta potty. So somebody has replaced the latch before, or just moved, it may be the same latch and just moved it down. But I noticed when you open it, it's supposed to line up to go into that hole to keep it open. Obviously that doesn't work now. But here's the porta potty. Oh, I have not looked inside there. And it looks like there's remnants of toilet paper. Okie dokie, I don't know if that's worth selling or not. I'm sure it's in good shape and everything and works, but if it's got waste in it, I don't know if I want to even open it up and try to clean it. I may get brave one day. I might have an extra Tyvek suit laying around so I can completely wrap myself up so I don't end up with a single speck of someone else's poo on me. I mean, that would be a whole different kind of video. Removing the windows before working on the interior was definitely a good idea. It has a nice breeze coming through here now. It really knocked off a lot of the stagnant air and humidity that was in here. Because opening the front hatch and having the door and hatch, everything in the back open, it just wasn't allowing any breeze to come through. It's too bad they didn't design these windows to where they could be hinged at the top and just pivot outwards, you know, open a couple inches at the bottom. That would have made a big difference. But of course then people would end up leaving them open while they're trying to sail and not paying attention that water's filling up their interior. Which, that would be a bad thing, and it would happen because people are definitely forgetful, especially if they're outside sailing this thing and having fun. They're not going to be paying attention that it's filling up with water on the inside until it's too late. But let's get back to work on pulling out as many screws out of there, as many panels as we can, so we can strip this interior out. The sooner I get this done, the better. I'll go ahead and remove this switch panel here. C&C Yachts. Of course, it's missing one of the fuse covers, but that's no biggie. I mean, who knows? Maybe I can get a couple bucks for this switch panel. I'm not too worried about the wiring. I'm probably just going to cut through all of it and make it a whole lot faster. Well, I removed that battery switch that was there. The switch panel, I've got the cushions, the seat backs and stuff removed. I'm going to wait until the last minute to pull the bottoms out because I need them to sit on. Yeah, that means I'm lazy, right? It's just, I can't stand up in this damn boat, so I'm tired of hunching over. I might as well sit down since there are seats available. At least then I can get all the screws and stuff out. But I'm going to go ahead and try and remove some more of this wood. Hopefully it'll all come out pretty easy. I was trying to figure out how these little wood pieces come out on the side. Well, it turns out it's just 4 screws, 2 on this side, 2 on the other side, and then it just sits in this channel here and you just slide it out. And look what's behind it. There's a big heavy piece of aluminum there. So that must be attached to the where the turnbuckles mount, you know, for the mast. I never would have expected it to be that much. Let's see. Yep, that's what's out there. So all of that is for the mast. I never would have guessed they, you know, went to that extreme on the bracket. But I guess it's got to hold a lot of force. Enough wind to move the boat, at a pretty good speed, it's going to have a lot of force on it, so it's kind of neat looking. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I was able to get the last couple screws out holding this side piece on here, but I wonder why they got a large hole cut into this piece. I mean, I don't see where it's to access anything. And why not fill up all these voids and stuff with foam? Make the hull a little more solid and add a little bit of flotation. You know, worst case, boat breaks apart. At least you end up with big chunks of foam you can grab onto. Oh well. I gotta cut a few wires to pull this the rest of the way off. Then we'll get to work on removing the other side. It's not really that bad. I got the wood off the other side now. I'm working on taking the aluminum angle off that holds that piece of wood there down to the floor. I think it's just held there and then just seated in that channel up at the top. Because I can't find anything else that's holding it, so that's got to be it. So let's go ahead and get that removed. I went ahead and tossed that one seat cushion out just to get it out of my way so that I could get to that channel. I don't think it's going to take a whole lot more to get this wood out. Okay, I got that little partition out. I guess that's the wall to the bathroom, might as well call it. It came out pretty much intact. There was a little soft spot on the back corner, so I had to kind of mush that in just a little bit to get it past this. Because really what it needed to do is it needed to kick out that way, but the toilet was in the way and I couldn't get the toilet out. And now the toilet's out and it's removed. So hopefully the rest will come out just as easy. I guess I better, in case porta potties are worth keeping, might as well keep the brackets with it. But there's the porta potty. I don't think I'm going to try and carry that down myself on the ladder, just in case something goes horribly wrong. I think I'm going to have my wife stand down below and I'll pass it down to her. That way if anything goes wrong, it's on her, not me. Damn, that's mean. But I'll go ahead and get the rest of this stuff out. I mean, there's not really any point in removing all the screws to take all these little brackets and stuff out, but I want to keep the metal, wood, and everything separate from the fiberglass. Fiberglass is going in one load. The wood and stuff, I mean, I don't know if any of it's teak or anything, but if it is, might as well salvage what I can. But I'm going to have to definitely ask somebody that knows something about wood. Got a little bit more wiring and stuff to remove. I'm hoping I can remove this whole partition here and maybe get up underneath the back that way instead of having to open that hatch and climb in. That would be a lot easier. If that doesn't work, I'm just going to cut accesses where I need to and reach in that way. But go ahead and pull this next wood wall or partition or bulkhead or whatever you want to call it. Go ahead and pull that out, and then we'll get all these trim pieces out on the inside up here. I've come to the conclusion that this piece of wood here is not going to come out in one piece. It looks like what they did was they made it in two sections and it slides into this little channel because there is a seam right here, and of course they attached this trim piece after the fact. But let me show you on the inside. Yeah, I'm ready to get rid of this boat. On the inside, wait for the camera to adjust, there's this other piece of wood that's like a plate that's you know, covering that joint there. And of course, they did the proper thing, and after they put their screws or whatever in, they plugged all the holes with these little wood plugs and everything. I'm just not really seeing where it's worth my time and effort to try to take this off delicately. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to just persuade this piece to come out in one large piece, which of course will result in it missing some small corners and stuff like that, but I don't care. I'm already getting tired of the wood on this boat. So basically I'm just going to use my foot and kick it out of here. Let's see how that works out. Okay, the method of just kicking the crap out of it worked perfectly. That piece of wood is now removed. It did break in one spot here, so that's okay though. I have a feeling that's going in the burn pile. Now let's pull the rest of these cushions out. Then all we have left really on the interior is just the little cabinet area and countertop where the sink is. And I don't think that's going to give us any problems. Of course I say that now. Probably just jinxed it. That's okay, there's always a big hammer. It's looking a whole lot better. All the cushions are out. Still got to remove this table bracket and that mast support. But looks a whole lot better. I'm working on this sink, trying not to tear the sink up itself, you know. I don't know if it's worth anything, but the sink still works. I was surprised it still had water in the holding tank, but I'm going to go ahead and empty it all out so that I can not get wet later. Okay, I cut the water line and drain line for the sink and already removed all of the nuts and washers and everything off. So now the sink's loose and now it can be used for something else. It's in pretty good shape. But now I got to figure out how to remove this little faucet here. Faucet works good, but I don't need it. Well, it definitely looks a lot different than it did the other day, doesn't it? Still working on getting this cabinet out of here, or this countertop. Having a hard time with a little piece of aluminum angle that's across the bottom of that side panel. I'm going to end up just drilling that screw out. But it's getting there. I'm going to remove that mast support right now. It's got a few nuts on the bottom, and I think they're screw heads or Allen heads or something on the top. Okay, I'm at a point now where I'm needing a little bit more headroom. Tired of slouching over inside the boat, so we're going to make it a convertible if the battery and the sawzall will last. We're just going to cut off the top part of the cabin area, just to make things a little bit easier to deal with. I mean, I've still got some things on the inside to remove, but for the most part it is stripped. And yeah, still working on that cabinet. So let's get cutting with the sawzall and see how much we can get done with the battery before we have to go crank up the chainsaw. Alright, I'm about to make the first cut. I'm going to start right here, unless I hear any objections. Anybody out there that's wanting to save this poor boat's life. I'm not hearing anybody, so I'm going to start cutting it right here, right now. After I make this first cut, there's no turning back. Alright, I finished cutting all the way around this entire roof section for the cabin. It's now ready to come off the boat. As you can see, it is cut all the way through. It's just sitting up there. I'm going to toss it to the ground. If all works out, I'll stay in the boat and just it will go to the ground. Hopefully I won't go with it. Okay, that worked out pretty good. It's going to be a lot easier to work on the inside now. And happy it landed on the ground sitting upright instead of just breaking into pieces or something. Make it a lot easier to deal with later. But now to go ahead and see what else I can remove out of here. I think this is a good stopping point for the night. I'm going to go ahead and clean up all the tools and straighten up this mess over here. And I'll get back to work on it in the morning. Alright, I got the mast laid out, all the sails laid out. Try and get some good photos of them. And yes, I'm up on a ladder. I didn't have access to a helicopter today. Just wasn't in the budget. So I'm going to try and get these good photos. I'm just waiting for the sun to go down just a little bit more so they're all in pretty even light.